have that start, and Ms. DeSisto, you can keep the time. They have up to 16 minutes.
All right, guys.
Mr. Mons, I've promoted you to panelist. Can you tell me?
All right, guys. I just found that I miss politics so much that I'm already back, and right now I'm going to be commenting on the other candidate speeches. I'm going to be analyzing what they say, what they don't say, see where the nonsense is. If there's any lies, I'm going to clear those up right quick. Trust me on this. So let's get into this. Mons is up first. Let's see what he has to say.
Your other speakers to promote, please.
Okay, still just waiting on
Privilege
Mons.
that the live stream is not started. That may be on Facebook. I don't know.
There's
Zoom
no
is
live
on-
stream on Facebook. It's only on YouTube.
We're only on YouTube right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Mons, can you identify your other speakers?
Mr. Fishman should have the list of speakers. Mr.
If you could just tell them to me, it'll be
Now, to be
easier.
honest, guys, I have some hope for Mons.
All right.
I mean, he did all right in the debate. He does oppose government schools, kind of. He didn't handle the education question that well, certainly not to my liking. And he's still not my first choice. Adam Kokesh is, I mean, if I'm an alternate,
done.
but if
Who's
I was
the next
delegate,
one?
Adam Kokesh would have my vote.
Paige.
Paige Sexton?
But
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a fair chance. I'm going to go through his speech, and we're going to be pausing it if needed, just letting it
right?
run. If not,
And,
we'll
and
see.
myself, of course.
Okay.
You, sir, are promoted.
All right, let's
Right.
see.
So, before we start, I keep getting this point of privilege that apparently
Okay, so we're going to be coming up soon with John Mons. John Mons, homeschool father. This is a guy who is refusing to use public schools. That means he's responsible. He cares about his kids. He doesn't trust the government. He said a lot of really good things in this campaign. I wasn't blown away by his debate performance, to be honest. I mean, I thought maybe he did better than some of the other candidates in that debate, but that whole debate was just a travesty. So let's see what he does today.
Delegates, I am Halima Mons. I am, and John Mons is my father, my teacher, and my role model. I'm so proud to be before you today to nominate him as the Libertarian nominee for President of the United States of America. My father has been the rock of our family, setting the example of steadfast principles, never wavering values. He has taught me about love and commitment, but also about freedom and responsibility. He taught me to work hard and never stop learning. As a homeschooled student under the tutelage of my father, I've had a well-rounded academic experience. I was fortunate to have been able to experience politics through hands-on experiences with his multiple campaigns, including his history-making 2010 run for governor of Georgia. It is because of him that I've learned so much with fixing cars and hydroponics and being crafty. I am proud to be able to say he's not only my father, but in many ways, he is also my friend. Consistently reliable and always having the answer, even when it feels like there isn't one. He never fails to encourage me to strive for greatness with all of my passions. I think I speak for all of our family when I tell you that we are honored to have this man in our lives. And we are eager to share with him, with you, and with the American public. My father is what America needs. I believe that he has the ability to inspire the rest of the country the way he has inspired me. So vote Mons so that he can be for the country everything he has been for me and my family. Thank you. I yield my remaining time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paige Sexton, and I am the current Region 2 alternate for the Libertarian National Committee. I heard the news that there was a presidential candidate from my region, so naturally I was curious. John Mons has a resume that speaks for itself, but I'll happily speak for him as well. When I first met Mr. Mons at the Libertarian Party of Tennessee's Whiskey Region meeting via Zoom in April, he solidified his standing with me. He came across as approachable and was open to any and all questions. He spoke this radical pursuit of liberty and freedom with an anti-platform that spoke to my libertarian heart. Might I add, he did all of this while dressed very dapperly and with true Southern charm. Mr. Mons has a decade-long track record with the LP. and has been one of Georgia's top libertarian vote gatherers. He was the first African American gubernatorial candidate in Georgia, and his 2010 election received over 1 million votes, a first for the Libertarian Party. He is articulate, intelligent, level-headed, and well-spoken. He reaches a demographic the rule.
Oh, for the love of God. All right. That first speech, here's what you're seeing so far. John Monds has a lot of bold positions. Why are people avoiding those bold positions? Social fear would be my guess, or thinking that that's what measures. Listen, I know people that got many more votes than John Monds, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That's not what's good about him. What about his positions? Now, Paige has said that he has some good positions, and I know from my own knowledge that he does, but why aren't we talking about them? What are these positions that are so good? Let's see if we actually get to something of content that differentiates John Monds from the other status quo candidates. What does he want to cut? What does he want to abolish? What laws does he want to get rid of? What's happening over here?
Ruling party candidates simply can't. Through his work as Grady County NAACP president, he is able to reach a voter base and donor base nationwide that could easily get us 5% and beyond. As a longtime member and alumni of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, one of the largest and most respected historically Black fraternities, he can offer us remarkable on-campus outreach and access that we as a party have lacked in past years. He will eliminate the war on drugs.
Oh,
He will
finally.
bring our troops home. He will cut
Yes.
taxes and stop punishing the poor. He
Yes.
will bring us true freedom and liberty. You
Finally.
can find the entire anti-platform, a list of things the government should not be doing, at Mons 2020. We ask that you give your votes for the Libertarian presidential nominee to John Monds of Georgia. Thank you for your time, and I yield my remaining time to my colleagues.
Oops.
Good afternoon, fellow delegates.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Notice that we finally got past all the fluff and nonsense. Listen, everybody likes their parents. Now, John Monds is an exceptional parent. I will say that. He's an exceptional parent because he does homeschooling instead of dumping his kids into garbage welfare state schools. So it's true that he is an exceptional parent, but that's not really what matters because we are not hiring John Monds to be our dad. I already have a dad, perfectly good dad. I'm sure that many of you guys already have parents, and that's not what this position is. The position that we're talking about is who's going to actually be cutting government well, who's going to be fighting the culture war to cut government, not who can get us the most percent, because that's unknowable. I mean, nobody would have guessed Donald Trump won. Here's what has finally differentiated him, though. We finally get on the second nominator some actual discussion of cuts to government.
I'm honored to be before you today to speak in support of nomination for John Monds as Libertarian candidate for President of the United States. My journey to liberty started with John Monds in 2010. I was a disaffected Democrat who was burned out from the failed promises and the false hopes of the Obama 2008 campaign. I didn't feel like Democrats represented me, and Republicans were actively campaigning across the country to limit my rights as a gay American. I was politically homeless. Then I learned about John Monds and his campaign for governor. I had never thought of voting third party, but his campaign impressed me. He was the first candidate in my state's history to march alongside the LGBT community at Atlanta's Pride Festival. He spoke to issues that matter to me and other Georgians, and he ran an honorable, principled campaign for governor. John Monds lit the fire of liberty in me, and he can do the same for millions more Americans. John Monds doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the libertarian path. He said no to government schools and took the responsibility of educating his children on himself, and in that he is a tremendous success. John Monds doesn't just say what people want to hear, he says what needs to be said. End the wars now, end the failed war on drugs, free entrepreneurs from the cumbersome red tape of government. These are the issues he can effectively communicate to the voters, and John Monds has a history of doing just that. Whether on a televised debate or speaking to his local NAACP chapter, John Monds is consistently devoted to the ideas of freedom and liberty. As John recently said in a debate, freedom is a radical idea, but we have to share it. John Monds will share that radical idea with millions of American voters as our presidential nominee. John Monds is a barrier breaker. As you heard from others in 2008, he was the first libertarian to earn over 1 million votes. And in 2010, he made history in Georgia again by being the first African-American nominee for governor. In this unique election, I trust John Monds to carry the libertarian banner. There is no question about his dedication to the party, to the platform, and to the fight for freedom in our lifetime. As your presidential nominee, John Monds will continue to break barriers for the liberty. He is the only candidate with the ability to unite this entire party and break the two-party system that plagues American politics. John Monds has the unique ability to reach out and unite fellow Americans who are not being represented by the choices of other parties. John Monds can bring libertarianism to the mainstream. Give John your vote, and you will watch him make history once again. Cast your vote for John Monds, and he will fight to spread liberty and free this country from the oppressive boot of government. Thank you. I yield my remaining time.
Okay, let's talk.
Chair.
Before we hear John speak, let's talk about why that last one was so important. Because I mean, we know that John Monds is a Christian. He's religiously. People are saying, well, is he going to be bigoted? Is he not going to? Here's the thing about John Monds is he's a man of character, and so he has the character to not use government schools. He walks the walk and he talks the talk. He has the intelligence to not trust government. And here we see that he has the outreach and compassion to reach. It doesn't matter. He's even though he's Christian, he's able to light the fires of liberty in people who might believe in things different from what he believes in. He marches along the sides. He marches along with people whose rights he believes in, even if he might not religiously agree with their life choices. He's fighting for the rights, and that says a lot about a person. That was a really, really solid choice in terms of convention nominator.
I accept the nomination to place my name in consideration for President of the United States of America on behalf of the Libertarian Party. For those delegates who may not have heard from me or about me, I'll give you a little bit of my backstory. Native of Detroit. After 15 years, my family and I moved to Florida, where I graduated high school with honors. From there, I moved on to Atlanta, Georgia, and attended Morehouse College, where I received a banking and finance degree. Moving back to Detroit, after working a few years with an investment firm, I changed careers and began working at a regional airline. It was in my hometown of Detroit that I met the love of my life, my wife, Dr. Kathleen Monds. With her, we've had 4 children. And we decided to move to Georgia, back to Georgia, and raise them. For the past 20 years, I've been a homeschool dad, and a stay-at-home dad and homeschool parent. And in that time, I've had 2 college graduates, and one that you heard from earlier, Halima, is a second-generation libertarian and a college senior at 19 years of age. In Georgia is where I found the Libertarian Party. And for the last 15 years, I've been acting from day one. In my 4 previous races, I've had 1.8 million votes cast for the LP. And I don't say that to brag. I say it to inspire other candidates to be involved. 2 of those races were ballot access races to maintain that in Georgia. I understand ballot access. I'm involved in a federal lawsuit right now to help Georgia hopefully overturn a statute that has kept our U.S. House candidates off the ballot since 1940s. That is to the Federal Court of Appeals. I've been on the Georgia XCOM for years. I've started local affiliates. And from there, in this experience, I'd like to lend my race for president. What do I bring? I call my race and my candidacy the total package. I understand what's important. I understand ballot access. I understand that messaging is key. You don't see any wavering in my statements on ending the wars, bringing the troops home, the drones home. You don't see any wavering on ending the income tax, ending the drug war, and pardons and commutations of nonviolent offenders in federal prison. That's what I've done for 15 years, that I've been consistent. And that's what I want to continue to do. And I know the plan for me is to go state by state, not in a top-down manner, dictating what everybody needs or wants from the candidate, but asking those states across the country, what do you need from me? How can I help your down ballot candidates? How can I help your ballot access issues? That's what I bring to this race. I have broad appeal, whether it's from the Mises Caucus or the Pragmatic Caucus, the Radical Caucus, or even the Waffle House Caucus. And the reason I get that is not only because of my message and how I believe in the party, but also because I treat people, all people, candidates, outside of the party and the party with respect. And I think that's what we all need to do. And the message for freedom is so key to me. And one of those reasons is that I am a descendant of slaves here in Georgia, Columbus and Mourning Ferguson, who were my inspiration for joining this race. In previous races, the party would ask me, did I want to run? Could I help? But in this particular race, I was inspired by my great-grandparents because I know how much freedom is important, not just for me and my family, but for yours as well. Now is the time. We can't revise history and say, well, if I lived in 1776, I would have been one of the revolutionaries. If I was living during slavery, I would have been an abolitionist. No, we have today. And I'm not afraid to bring a strong message that's clear, that we can win. I know what we believe and the platform that we have will be popular with everybody, like it is with me, and I'll spread that message. That is my guarantee to you. I'm a candidate you can trust. I've been here a long time. I didn't just pop out of nowhere, and I'll be here even longer. So I ask for your support. I ask for your vote. If I'm not your first choice, let me be your second, and I'll make sure to do you proud. My website is mons2020.com, and I look forward to representing this party in a way that will make us grow with membership, votes, and success. And I yield back my time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, that was pretty decent. Now notice that he did manage to talk about actually cutting government. And I hope that doesn't differentiate him from the other candidates. But he did talk about cutting government. He talked about a bold message. Honestly, I liked a lot of what I heard over there. Let's see what some of these other candidates decide to do.
Mr. Mons, and the speakers for Mr. Mons. Mr. Mons' name is placed in nomination.
Voted Mr. Kokesh to panelist so that he can direct things after his video plays.
Okay. Can we verify
All
that?
right, we're going to have
voting
Kokesh's
from one of the
video. Let's see what
panelists
happens
is?
here.
Also, Mr. Fishman, the Supreme Campaign has nominators that need invitations. And I think you have gotten a request for that, and we'll take care of it before those speeches come up.
Yes. Mr. Kokesh, are there other people that you need promoted to panelist?
Just the video is fine. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Should I start playing and sharing?
I believe so. We don't have sound, Ms. Harlos.
All right, all I know how to do is share. If a sound doesn't come through, then I do not have the technological ken for that. That would be on Mr. Fishman.
Okay,
It's Mr. Kokesh. We'll have to share it.
okay, let's try to let Mr. Kokesh share his screen.
All right, while they try to figure out this technology, here's what I'm hoping to see from Adam. I am hoping that we see talk about some big, huge, massive cuts to government. Let's see if we get it.
I am not getting sound, Mr. Kokesh.
Please tell Mr. Kokesh to unmute.
Mr. Kokesh, are you unmuted?
Okay. Now, as you guys know,
He says he knows the solution as an FYI to Mr. Fishman.
Okay, Mr. Levy, if you can solve the problem, let's get that problem solved.
all right, here's what we're hoping for. I'm hoping that we get some big, bold messaging from Adam Kokesh. Adam Kokesh, inspiring guy, brought me into the movement, a lot of other people in the movement. He didn't bring me in the movie, but he helped radicalize me from a classical, boring, fearful minarchist to a fearless, voluntarist, anarchist, anarcho-capitalist looking to actually smash the state, dismantle the state, end the status quo. Adam's a civil disobedience activist. He has the credentials. This is a guy who's about as anti-state as you can get. So let's see what we get from him.
My name is Elijah Gizzarelli, and I'm a delegate from California.
I'm hearing sound.
It is my honor.
All right, go back to the beginning, and Mr. Kokesh is going to play the video. Here we go.
My name is Elijah Gizzarelli, and I'm a delegate from California. It is my honor to nominate Adam Kokesh for the Libertarian Party's nomination for President of the United States. Adam is the best chance the LP has at having a breakout year in 2020. I followed his activism since 2011. Adam versus the Man was actually instrumental in me learning about libertarianism and then later becoming a member of the Libertarian Party. In 2017, I started seeing Adam post some strange things on Facebook. I'm running for not president. Honestly, I thought it was a bad idea. You see, I'm actually very pragmatic. I was happy with Gary Johnson in 2016. You know, I had hoped for better results, but it's hard to complain about the best results in Libertarian Party history. Gary did a great job. I've always felt like the more milquetoast, the more palatable candidates needed to be out front in the Libertarian Party to serve as a pipeline towards voluntarism. But as I found out in the past couple of years, you don't need to be milquetoast to be palatable. I told Adam my concerns at a tour event he was holding back in 2017, and he started to explain to me how he agreed, how he was planning very diligently how he was going to pitch this idea to the American people, how he was using the government's own propaganda against itself. Immediately, I started to see the potential in this campaign. Not only could this be the greatest libertarian outreach campaign in history, but this idea could actually win. It could change American politics forever. Over the past 2 years, I've probably talked to thousands of everyday average Americans about Adam's platform, about how he plans to take the federal government through a bankruptcy proceeding. I've seen how America reacts to Adam's platform, and they love it. Outside of his platform being a complete game changer, Adam is just the best candidate we have available to us right now. He's charismatic, he looks good on camera, he communicates well, he understands libertarian principles, he thinks well on his feet, and he's good under pressure. He's a little...
Now, realistically, the Adam before he was like deplatformed from a lot of things and had to rebuild it, Adam had more followers in the Libertarian Party. I mean, Adam has a massive level of outreach. You know, I've heard people talk about Adam Kokesh, not people who are libertarians, just people that I talk to. They're like, you know, I heard this guy speak called Adam Kokesh, and it'll be about something else. It'll be like about entrepreneurship or something unrelated to libertarianism. So Elijah's not making this up. Adam has more outreach than anyone else in the campaign, except for possibly Vermin.
Maintenance. Believe it or not, Adam actually lives off of pineapple and LaCroix sparkling water. That's facts. Adam's fame and popularity are proof of his star power. Adam has the largest social media following of any of the current candidates for the Libertarian Party's nomination. And only Vermin Supreme is even anywhere close. The Libertarian Party needs to nominate somebody who is popular and has the charisma to communicate to non-libertarians about libertarianism. Adam Kokesh is that candidate. If you support another candidate, I want you to ask them, have you ever been recognized in public? Without wearing your novelty headgear, of course. If you travel with Adam, it actually becomes annoying after a while because so many people stop you on the side of the street because they recognize Adam. One time I was in a library and me and Adam were talking softly to each other and somebody recognized Adam's voice and approached us. It might seem silly to point out, but this is fundamentally important. Adam Kokesh and Vermin Supreme are the only candidates this cycle that are still in the race that were able to get mainstream media interviews. This isn't an accident. There's a reason the other candidates weren't able to do so. And it's not because they weren't trying. Whoever wins this nomination just isn't going to be handed free press. They're going to have to fight for it, and Adam can get noticed without novelty headgear. I hope you can see how important this election.
Okay, first of all, now we're going off the rails in terms of what's actually true and false. If you're the Libertarian Party nominee, you get press. Guaranteed. You are guaranteed free press. Listen, Adam is still my first choice. Yeah, he is he's the person I'm going to, if I was a delegate, I'm an alternate, he's the person I would be voting for. But it is simply not true that you're not going to get free media if you're the Libertarian presidential candidate. Of course you are. I got free media as the Libertarian Party vice chair. The presidential candidate gets many times more media. So there are many reasons to vote for Adam, and he's probably going to get more media than anybody else. But anyone who gets that nomination is going to get a lot of free media.
Election is for the Libertarian Party. And I ask you to nominate the person with the best chance at keeping our ballot access and moving our party forward. The other candidates are great people. I've spent a good amount of time with just about all of them. I would be happy to support any one of them if they were to win the nomination. But I think it's a fool's errand. They're trying to run Gary Johnson's campaign with less fame and name recognition and less money. Adam Kokesh has proven to be the best fundraiser of all the candidates currently in the race. Adam Kokesh has the most name recognition. To me, the choice is simple. Please vote for Adam Kokesh for the Libertarian Party's nomination for president.
Hi, my name is Zach Parks. I am the Director of Christians for Kokesh, and I am excited to endorse Adam and his radical message of decentralization. This is exactly what this party needs and exactly what this country needs right now. People are not looking for modifications to the status quo. They want to completely upend the establishment, and millions of them are ready to hear our message. So I hope we can count on your support during this convention.
I'm Joey Lee, Director of Stoners for Kokesh and Commander-in-Chief for Platoon 420. They call me GI Mary Jane, and as a national delegate to the 2020 LNC, I proudly second the nomination of Adam Kokesh as a Libertarian Party nominee for last President of the United States. Following a record-breaking election cycle in 2016, this party stands at a crossroads. It is of the utmost importance that this year's nominee be someone who can precisely and charismatically articulate the principles that this party stands for. Most importantly, nothing by force. Does forcing libertarian beliefs on a population really stand up to libertarian principle? Adam's platform of localization is the only platform that truly lives up to libertarian principle, as it brings government down to the community level, allowing Americans to have as much or as little government as they want, so long as it's voluntary. People will finally be free to live the way that works best for their communities without the fear of government intervention. I urge you to cast your vote for freedom through localization.
Hi, my name is Chris Cole, and I support Adam Kokesh because Adam Kokesh supports children and parents like myself. I'm the Director of Victims of Family Law, as well as the North Carolina State Coordinator for his campaign. Adam has put family law, a taboo yet highly destructive issue in America, to the forefront of his campaign. Millions of Americans are negatively affected through divorce, child custody, child support, child protective services, and other welfare programs, all of which put profit before parenting. Government uses its self-given authority to take away the rights of parents and children and is a $50 billion a year business. Adam's willingness to use his platform to help spread this message has truly been a sense of purpose for myself personally. Adam brought me in to spearhead Victims of Family Law and has been the only candidate in any party who consistently brings this highly sensitive issue to each debate. Broken homes are the real pandemic crisis in this country.
Okay. agreed on many points over there, which is family law is nonsense. I've written against it in my book, Pull Out: Men, Modern Life, and Mutiny. The idea that fathers never get custody, but they have to pay child. I mean, the abuses of family law are clear, but it is, as a simple case in point, Adam has not actually brought up family law in every debate. He's brought it up in some debates. He does certainly has put the most effort into defending it, but he hasn't actually brought it up in every debate. He has, in fairness, he has fought for it more boldly and more clearly than any of the other current candidates by a lot.
And the source of many health, economic, and social issues we have today. He introduced me to the Libertarian Party, and he showed me that there was a party of human beings who believed in ethics, morals, and principles.
Hello, I am Marcus Pulis, a delegate from Indiana. 3 years ago, I had given up on politics entirely. The same old broken promises from politicians had led me to distrust any party. When I met Adam Kokesh, I already believed in self-ownership and voluntary cooperation. What he offered me was a practical way to peacefully transition to a world set free in my lifetime. He called it localization. He offered me hope for a better world based in ethics and love. Over these years, Adam and I have become friends. I've been honored to work within this growing movement and see the hard work from our campaign and from others. A libertarian future is dawning, and I am part of that evolution. It is time to end the Fed. I am proud to second the nomination of Adam Kokesh for the Libertarian Party nomination for President of the United States.
As Adam Kokesh's wife and biggest fan, I am proud to second his nomination for President of the United States. I support my husband not just because of his dance moves, but because I believe in his message of localization and voluntarism. This country is too good for this government. It has no place in our private lives, in our homes, our families, or dictating what we do with our own bodies. Speaking not just as his wife, but also as his Western Regional Coordinator and as the Director of Exotic Entertainers for Kokesh, I know Adam is the only one to end the tyranny and give us back what was stolen from us. He is not afraid to stand up to the duopoly. He works harder than anyone else I know, and the party will get so much value from him because he's a man of integrity with the work ethic and the right message to lead us to a world set free in our lifetime.
My fellow libertarians, my name is Adam Kokesh, but you might know me as Adam versus the Man, and I'm seeking the Libertarian nomination for President of the United States of America. It is such a great honor to be a part of this party as we persist in our business despite current challenges. We find ourselves gathering in extraordinary circumstances in difficult times for most Americans. We seem to have been bullied out of our convention planned for Austin to meet online instead because of a forced unemployment crisis in the name of a state of emergency, using a virus with a lower death rate than testifying against Hillary Clinton as the excuse. As tough as this weekend may be for us, please keep in mind the tens of millions of Americans out of work and struggling right now, which includes many of us gathered here today. As you know, governments have a habit of using fake emergencies to take away freedom and consolidate wealth and power. The coronavirus pandemic is a real reason to pull together, support the vulnerable, and direct resources to those in need, not to panic and not to support policy that violates individual rights. This is not the time to cower. This is the time to be brave, to be libertarian. Real courage is not the brutal force of government agents in uniforms, but the steadfast conviction of principles, logic, and love. After the last debate, I'm happy to switch my VP endorsement from John McAfee to Larry Sharpe. Years ago, I was fed some bad intel about Larry, accusing him of things of which he was innocent. Despite my rushed handling of the situation, Larry's grace and patience made it possible to settle things like adults. We have become friends since, and we have discussed localization extensively. I know that if I have the honor of having him as a running mate, he would be a great advocate for localization. And as two former Marines, hoorah, we would be uniquely positioned to unite America against the pro-war duopoly. Now, even if you only like me half as much as your preferred candidate, you should still vote for me because I will work way more than twice as hard and be way more effective than anyone else in using this opportunity to grow our movement for the long run. I will be a full-time candidate, not just between now and November, but if we don't win this year, between now and 2024 as well. I have an unmatched record of hustle, and I know with your nomination, I'm only going to get more effective. I'm 38 years old. I've been at this full-time for 14 years, and I have at least a few good decades left in me, but I'm planning on seeing a world set free long before I'm forced to retire. You can take my microphone when you pry it from my cold, dead hands. A vote for me is a long-term investment in freedom and the party. We have seen a very divided party coming into this convention, but we cannot let ourselves be divided when our leadership is needed now more than ever to unite America. We are the only party that is anti-war, anti-drug war, anti-surveillance state, which makes us the only party that is pro-peace, pro-human dignity, pro-freedom. Localization is the only policy that fully embodies our principles in a practical step forward that every American can agree on. Localization is the cure for polarization. I'm running for the Libertarian Party nomination for president because I want you to be able to rest assured that your nominee is someone who will be taken seriously, who is always cool, calm, and collected, who isn't boring, who can consistently get national media, who can get in the debates, who can excite and motivate people, who isn't running on a gimmick, who doesn't have votes or unethical status positions that you would have to apologize for, someone who can leverage existing name ID, who can unite the American people with practical policy that immediately improves life for all Americans and can let the world know why people like you, people like me, will do whatever it takes to stand up to government and achieve our goal of a world set free in our lifetimes. The American people know that the difference between Republicans and Democrats is like the difference between going off a cliff at 70 miles an hour versus 80 miles an hour. We can't go to them and tell them, it's going to be okay because we can take you off the cliff at 10 miles an hour. No, we have to offer a fundamentally new direction for America. We have to offer policy that is fundamentally different, something unifying. That new direction is localization. So please join me in taking our message to a new level by offering the American people a real alternative. I humbly ask for your vote and for the honor of being your nominee.
My name is Elijah Gizer.
All right, guys. So here's what we see in Adam's speech. Adam's actually talked boldly about cutting government. He's talked about localization, which in his code language means abolishing the federal government. Now, the one concern that I have with Adam, and I brought this up with him, is that when you say localization, a lot of people misinterpret that as being in favor of state-run government schools or county-run government schools. And he certainly clarified that position among us. I do believe that Adam has the ability to clarify that position among the country at large. How do I know? I've read his book, Freedom. He's pretty direct in there. He's pretty blunt. He's pretty straightforward. So I'm not crazy about the whole localization phrasing because it can be too easily misinterpreted. But he does have more media reach than anybody else, and he is truly voluntarist, truly anarchist. He's not like a Jacob Hornberger or any of the folks in the debate where they all took clearly not just statist positions, but just bad positions. Jacob Hornberger wanting to maintain the State Department. I mean, one of the most backwards, ineffective tools in all of diplomacy. So let's see what happens next.
Thank you, Mr. Kokesh. All right, Mr. Kokesh's name is placed in nomination. We will next have the presenters for Ms. Jorgensen. Mr. Fishman, if you can get that set up and get the appropriate people elevated to panelist. There are 2 points of personal privilege. One, if video participants could temporarily turn off their video out of respect for nominees when they're speaking, it helps the clients display the convention better. The second one is to remind panelists to maintain a professional appearance. If you are going to touch your face, eat, maintain your nose, or anything else of a personal nature, please stop your video. All right, Mr. Fishman.
Dr. Jorgensen, can you tell me the names of the people to promote, please?
I'm sorry, can I tell you the names? What?
Of your speakers to bring up onto the stage.
Yes, Steve Dasbach. Would you like the order?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me just a minute, please. Steve Dasbach, Elizabeth Brierly, Daryl Perry, Laura Ebke, Sam Robb, and then me.
Okay. Did you get those, Mr. Fishman?
I'm almost done.
That is an unexpected group of heavy hitters. The fact that Daryl Perry's on there is really interesting. Daryl Perry was the 2016, version basically of me, the most hardcore anarchist voluntarist candidate. To see that he's supporting Jorgensen is very unexpected. The other people are people who have very long established ties in the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian movement, and that's not that surprising. After all, Jo Jorgensen was Harry Brown's running mate. Harry Brown, one of the best communicators that the party's ever had. I wish he was still alive to be our presidential nominee right now. And so Jorgensen has some pretty huge coattails that she's riding on, and she has some pretty big name endorsers. Let's see what she does with it. This is interesting.
Got him.
President has a unique.
We will start with Mr. Dasbach and 16.
Steve Dasbach is a former national chair, by the way, guys.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Dasbach, and I nominate Dr. Jo Jorgensen for President of the United States. I served as national chair of the Libertarian Party from 1993 to 1998, and had the great honor of introducing Jo to the 1996 National Convention as our nominee for vice president, along with presidential nominee Harry Brown. Jo has a unique ability to present libertarian ideas in ways that average voters can understand and relate to, while remaining true to our principles. That unwavering commitment to principle is why she was endorsed and nominated by our party's founder, the late David Nolan. I saw that in that campaign, Jo's total commitment to outreach and party growth. I saw how effective she was in interviews as an ambassador for liberty. That's why I decided to join her 2020 presidential campaign as her full-time volunteer campaign manager. Jo has committed to sharing all the data collected in her campaign, donors, supporters, press contacts, research with the Libertarian Party in real time, so that the benefits flow to our state and local parties, as well as our down ballot candidates.
All right, so since that's going to be really puzzling to if you're not an insider, let me explain what usually happens. The presidential candidates get all these new people who are learning about libertarianism. They join their email list, and those are valuable lists. That's where we get donors and whatnot from. And then historically, they either try to sell it to the LNC or refuse to give it to the LNC. Jorgensen's made a bold distinction over there where she's going to share her donor list as they come in. She's going to share her email list as they come in. A striking difference between what's happened in the past. Let's see where this goes now.
None of our recent presidential campaigns have done. Jo is committed to ensuring that we are on the ballot in all 50 states and doing what it takes to retain ballot access. She will run a national campaign focusing resources on national advertising, outreach, and for the benefit of all of our affiliates and candidates. She looks forward to campaigning to support our down ticket candidates across the country. Everyone currently on Jo's campaign team and those who will be joining her campaign if you honor her with the nomination, all are committed libertarians. We welcome the involvement of all libertarians, no matter who you supported for the nomination. A unified party is the key to a successful campaign. Jo is the candidate who will unify our party. She is principled and practical. She provides a stark contrast to Trump and Biden. The local Greenville newspaper described Jo as a rose between two thorns after a televised debate in her 1992 campaign for Congress. An apt description, one that applies even more to a Trump-Biden-Jorgensen race. Fellow delegates, please join me in nominating Dr. Jo Jorgensen for President of the United States.
Whoever's next should just go.
Well, while they get their act together, the thing is, so Jorgensen has some good endorsements, former national chairs and whatnot. He's also favored by the Libertarian Pragmatist Caucus, which is probably the most toxic caucus in the party. Here's the problem with that. When you have that kind of support, you start to bend towards that. And we saw in the debate that she is already bending towards that, talking about maintaining our massive military-industrial complex and all these other things. She seems very unwilling to cut any of the big programs, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And Jacob Hornberger brought that up, and he was right. I mean, she has really... She's not giving us the Harry Brown message. Let me just put it that way.
Been a life member of the Libertarian Party for a dozen years, and I'm the 2020 Libertarian nominee for governor of New Hampshire. Like to think that I represent the Libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party, and as a member of the platform committee, I helped add a plank opposing the death penalty, and another supporting liberty for sex workers and their clients.
Daryl Perry is about as radical as it gets. So when he says he supports the Libertarian wing, he's not joking. He supports the Libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party.
Dr. Jo Jorgensen supported that plank, and indeed, she supports the entire platform. After 3 consecutive presidential cycles where the candidates promoted their own platform, Dr. Jorgensen gives us a chance to nominate someone who supports our platform. She can do that while also uniting the disparate factions of the party. Dr. Jorgensen got a B rating from the Radical Caucus and the endorsement of the Pragmatist Caucus. Dr. Jo Jorgensen is clearly the one candidate who can bring us together. Some libertarians are concerned about which presidential candidate can get us ballot access, but our presidential nominee can't do that on her own. Many states, like New Hampshire, require us to score big numbers from down-ballot candidates. Actually, only 13 states only require numbers from the presidential candidate. And a presidential candidate who can unite the party will help down-ballot candidates like myself, because many of the presidential volunteers will then get involved to help state and local candidates. Momentum at the presidential level builds momentum all the way down the ticket. With these thoughts in mind, I feel great pride and excitement to nominate Dr. Jo Jorgensen to be the Libertarian presidential nominee in 2020, and I urge you to...
Okay, so this is a little bit weird because so far we've heard, as far as I remember, just literally no cuts to government described at all. Anything said so far could be said about any Democrat or Republican candidate. She's nice. She does good outreach. What about cutting government, the purpose of our existence? What about rejecting the cult of the omnipotent state if you want to be meta? These really meta-level endorsements where we're not talking about any of the candidates' substantive positions at all, to me, that is a warning sign. I do not like to see that. I want to see the candidates' positions there boldly, clearly, so they're forced to talk about it constantly on the campaign trail. I want her today to be talking about ending the income tax so that when she's interviewed, they keep asking her about ending the income tax.
Support her as well.
Okay, thank you. It rejoined me.
Laura Epke is somebody who was a state legislator,
Okay, thank you.
legislator in
I'm pleased to write.
Nebraska, and then she joined the Libertarian Party. It was a big deal, and she's definitely more on the very, very, very kind of light pragmatist side. Let's see what happens.
In support of the nomination of Jo Jorgensen for president. As a recovering politician, now working for the Platt Institute, one of the things I've learned is that bold vision is not enough. Bold vision can only become reality when actionable steps that will lead us to the vision. We must offer leadership that can point us in the direction we wish to travel. And our leadership must find ways of walking with us, step by step in that direction, as they bring others to our way of thinking to walk alongside of us. I believe that Jo Jorgensen has both the bold vision and the practical temperament to recognize that regaining all lost liberty won't happen overnight, just as liberty wasn't lost overnight, but that working toward our ideal is something that we can do today and every day. Key reasons that the Libertarian Pragmatist Caucus endorsed Dr. Jorgensen are her commitment to maintaining ballot access, to helping down ballot candidates, and expanding our party's appeal to the larger population. A Libertarian office holder is not beholden to the dogma of one of the old parties. She can use the bully pulpit to bring in supporters for her agenda from both of the old parties. We need a Libertarian president to cure the dysfunction in Washington and to attract people around the country to the message of more freedom, not less. Less government, not more. Please join me in supporting Dr. Jo Jorgensen.
Okay, Dan, I believe I'm up next.
Dr. Jorgensen, if you can confirm that.
I'm sorry if who?
You have Sam Robb next.
Yes, he can start. Thank you.
Hey all, Sam Robb here, and not from Sam Robb 2020 anymore, but I'm here to let you know that over the course of the past year, I've had a chance to speak with and get to know my fellow candidates. I have, of necessity, paid close attention to their character as well as their words, and I've weighed their policies and positions and learned from all of them. I think that Jo Jorgensen has the character, class, and experience we need to communicate our principles to the American people. That's why at this point, I'm endorsing Jo Jorgensen and asking you to vote for her as our presidential candidate. Let's go, Jo. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Rob. And thank you so much, delegation. It's an honor to be here. I am honored to be amongst everybody who has run for office. And Sam, you ran a great race. I enjoyed seeing you. So I am running for president because government is too big, too bossy, too nosy, and way too intrusive. And worst of all, it hurts the very people it tries to help. I'm also running because I have 2 children and a grandchild. I myself am the grandchild of immigrants. It was my grandmother who instilled in me a love of our country because she knew what it was like to grow up in a place without our freedoms. When I was young, she spent many hours telling me about how great our country is and how in the old country, it didn't matter how hard you worked, everyone got the same. How in our country, you can work more and keep the extra. You can get further and have a much better life for your family. I'd like to make a couple of points about my grandmother's background. First, you might think that her stories were told from some large house in some gated community after coming here for untold riches. No, she and my grandfather actually retired to a trailer. Well, or mobile home, as she liked to correct me, but it was a wonderful community. She thought that living in her mobile home in our country was much better than living in her old country because here she had freedom. The other point, you might think that she came from communist Russia or some other country, But no, she came here from Denmark. The sad thing now is our country does look a lot more like Denmark than it did when my grandmother moved here. My grandmother was running away from Denmark, while our politicians are running toward it. I'm running for president because I want to leave the legacy of America to my grandchildren, not the legacy of Denmark. I want my grandchildren to grow up in the kind of country that my grandmother did here in America. For one thing, a country that's open to immigrants so that people like my hardworking grandparents can move here. A country in which my grandchildren can work extra and keep most of the extra. And here's what's ironic. My other grandfather immigrated from Sweden. His family also moved to America for freedom. And now look at what we have. People in Sweden are now able to move about freely, while here in America, we're all under house arrest. As president, I want to return our country to the place my grandparents moved to. I will champion legislation to end the federal income tax and to cut spending accordingly. Each American family will have back, on average, about $12,000 a year, money they can use to put a down payment on a house or a mobile home, pay off credit cards, or help a family member in need. Ending the income tax will result in millions of new jobs. So it doesn't just help the people who are earning the money, it helps the underprivileged, minorities, others who are looking for a job. America has been at war for 18 years. This must end now. As president, I will immediately order our troops home and dramatically downsize military spending. America will be one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral. We'll end the horrendous casualties of war, and the risk of terrorism will go down. America will be at peace with the world. The war on drugs has caused much more human suffering than the actual drug use. It's time for a drug peace. As president, I will pardon and free nonviolent prisoners convicted of so-called crimes where there is no victim on day one. Drug gangs will go out of business, our streets and our homes will be safe again. The land of the free will no longer lead the world in incarceration. Whistleblowers who expose government crimes and corruptions must be protected, not persecuted. On day one, I will pardon and free Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, and Ross Ulbricht. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid should never have been enacted into law, but proposing to end them abruptly, pulling the rug out from the elderly and the sick who are dependent on it, will get us nowhere. It's not fair to the people who were forced to pay Social Security all their lives. They were taken, the choice to keep their retirement money was taken away from them. On day one, I would allow taxpayers to immediately opt out of Social Security and rapidly sell off government assets so that the people who paid in for 40, 50, 60 years will have something. One thing I'd like to address is the myth that we have a free market healthcare system. We don't. That's why costs have skyrocketed. Democrat Barack Obama made things worse under Obamacare. Then Republicans sold out the American people when they refused to repeal Obamacare. As president, I will work with Congress to unleash a truly free market. No one will even want Medicaid when free and low-cost alternatives are here everywhere. We will have more options. Free clinics for the poor will abound, and we'll have convenience so mothers can take their children to a clinic at 11 o'clock at night and not put up with emergency rooms. Here's my message to American people. If you want an alternative to Donald Trump or Joe Biden, I offer you that choice. I ask for your vote to be the Libertarian nominee for president. Let's grow this party. Let's give voters a bold choice for freedom. The same freedom that my grandparents came to this country for. Thank you so much. I would appreciate you voting for me for the presidential nomination. And I'm very honored again to be among the people who are qualified. Thank you.
Wow. consider me very surprised by that speech. The sort of the Auntie Borgensen nickname, that's clearly gone now. Jo Jorgensen just boldly mocked Denmark in a clever, just humorous, well done, graceful way. Made fun of America comparing it to, I mean, I'm really, really impressed. And honestly, an online election cycle is going to play to her strengths. Now, listen, if you compare in person someone like Adam Kokesh to someone like Jo Jorgensen, they're not like on par in terms of their public speaking style. Adam is an electrifying public speaker. Jo Jorgensen, not really quite as much. But the simple fact is, when it comes to an online digital thing, the differences between Adam and Jo become maybe still there, but much smaller. The other thing that I really appreciated about this speech is she actually talked about major cuts to government. My guess is I see Carla Howell's hand in the speech writing, because we're talking about the two things that matter: big cuts to government and why they benefit people. That was Harry Brown's magic. Jo Jorgensen was Harry Brown's running mate. Harry Brown's running magic was that he could talk about the biggest, boldest cuts to government, ending public schools, ending the war on drugs, all that kind of stuff, and then talk about the benefits and sell them to the people. Honestly, before the speech, I haven't really been much of a fan of Jo Jorgensen. I wasn't clear exactly that she really brought anything to the table. I thought she was kind of a boring public speaker and that her positions were tedious. But honestly, her presentation here is really making me rethink that. She still doesn't have my vote over Kokesh, but I have to say, I am impressed by this presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Jorgensen. Dr. Jorgensen's name is placed in nomination. The next.
All right, let's see what happens while they get their act together here. Okay. What are they doing now?
Hopefully we will have Mr. Hornberger available at that time.
Okay, we're going into recess, it looks like. All right, guys, I'll be back in a bit.